Morning, everyone. I hereby call to order the meeting of the fence viewers and field drivers on Wednesday, September 28th, 2022 at 10 a.m. We're at Old Town Hall. This meeting is being both audio and video recorded for posting to Zoom, posting to YouTube. First, I'd like to request everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have in attendance Ms. Nancy Goulart and myself, William Moore, as well as Stephanie Schechter. I can't possibly name all the people we have in the audience. I don't need to.
Let me have a blank paper, please. I just asked everyone, please list your name, address.
Okay, so starting off with old business, the status of 2298 and 2308 Pleasant Street. So I went down to the property on, I forgot what day it was it Friday? I think it was Friday. And we measured the from the, you remember the medallion?
Mm-hmm.
We measured from the medallion and we found that the stakes that were put in there by Mr. McKeon were actually, correct, as opposed, in terms of how far away it is from that corner. So I believe Mrs. Kane agreed. Would you like to speak to that?
No, I agree to the measurements of Mr.
As we discussed, where the positioning on the wall should be, where the drill hole should be.
Yes.
So the drill hole, it's over like a foot. I did place a small rock at the position where we both agreed, and we also moved the stakes. Remember the green stakes that demarked the center line of the wall? Those moved over, I don't know, well, depending on how far it was, inches to a foot or so. So we made a new line. And then I called Mr. McKeon on the phone and spoke. Well, I tried to reach him. I was unable to. Then I spoke to him yesterday and told him that we agreed to those and he was supposed to take a look at it. And I was actually expecting him to be here at this meeting. But hearsay, he seemed to be okay with it. I'm not sure what else to do at this point without him here.
You can ask Mrs. Kane if they got estimates from Mason.
I've got an estimate of around $800.
If you don't mind, this is the mic that's going to pick up the voice. So anyone who's going to speak, I'll put a couple.
They should,
Yes.
they should go to the podium so that way.
Is that going to pick it up?
My face.
I completely sympathize, but
That
I got an estimate of around $800 roughly.
so before we can do anything with the masons, we've got to get, well, maybe, I suppose maybe it's a mason that should do it. We got to get agreement on the corner, the drill hole. I was expecting Mr. McKeon to be here so that we could, formalize that agreement that, we all agree where the corner is. And so we can put something in writing that we all agree to it. Actually, part of the discussion and one of the concerns that Mr. McKeon did bring up is the fact that your property is held in trust. And it's not just you. We're going to need to get minimally the 4 signatures of the people in the trust. I don't know. I'm simply going on what Mr. McKeon asked. I'm not sure if it's required or not, but he said there's also a trustee involved. So may require a trustee signature in order to make sure everyone's, so there's no fight in the future as to, whether it was okay to move this or not.
Do my best.
So I think that's the next step. Before we can do anything about, ordering to move the wall, we have to establish where that corner is and that everyone is in agreement that that corner is going to move. I personally would like to see something recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Yeah, I would assume it would have to be.
That says something to the effect of, the Canes, Tibbetts, McKeon's all agreed. We relocated the drill hole to its proper location as described in the deed.
Mhm.
I don't think we have anything to do until
So
we have.
the only thing I can think of is I could move to table until the next meeting. If by any chance Mr. McCain arrives and if Mrs.
That's
Mr.
true.
If Mr. McKeon arrives and Mrs. Kane is present, we can take it off the table. If he arrives and she's not here, it remains table till the next meeting because we need both of them present. So do you think a motion to table is in order?
In one moment, I
Okay.
would like to say, before we table it, we should somehow have a communication to Mr. McKeon that we need him to be here and we need him, we need to have this agreement done. Nothing more will be done from this committee until we have a signed agreement between all the parties. And they don't have to be here. I mean, you guys can do that on your own, outside of this meeting.
But we will need Mrs. Kane and Mr. McKeon to agree on whatever best price was gotten for the mason, because that's all the rest of what
That would be the next
we
step.
have
Yeah.
to do. After we get the agreement we need, then the actual repair would be, okay. So,
Okay. So go ahead and make your motion.
so I make a motion that we table action relative to 2298 and 2308 Pleasant Street until the next meeting. And that Mr.
So
McKeon.
that's a motion to postpone. So motion to table is just for this meeting, which you are correct. If you do a motion to table, we can pick it up at any point
Yep,
during the
yep,
meeting. A
yep.
motion to postpone means we can't talk about it until the next meeting.
Okay,
So table is appropriate motion.
so, all right, so that's where we are right now is the motion to table this agenda
We'll
item.
pick it up at the end of the meeting if it doesn't show up and postpone it.
All right. Or if you have to leave. Okay. All right, so the motion is to table action on this agenda item.
I'll step down second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. If Mr. McKeon shows up, we'll pick this up again. Otherwise, it'll be the next.
So they're not here because of me, these people.
No.
Oh, no. No, we have other items
We are like the most in-demand committee in town.
all of a sudden.
Listen,
Okay,
Okay, new business. We have a complaint. We have a written complaint or just
No, I just wrote the information down.
so you get a phone call?
Nope,
there's a complaint for
okay.
2396 Pleasant Street and 2386 Pleasant Street. So the,
papers with pictures and
oh, good.
things,
Oh,
so everyone can have.
so David and Donna, and you guys
You can hand these
on the
out.
podium. Where's yours?
Donna Burdos, I think you had my name, It's did change it.
Okay, sorry.
David Burdos, my husband. We had our land surveyed. And this is the surveyor's report, and it shows that we have a lot more land than we've got.
Yeah, I think I said that.
Oh, okay.
The red line's the fence.
Okay, so you're actually, this is the north, no, this is an east-west line, correct? So you're talking about this line here, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, just a request. Since we're being recorded, everything, before we get into the actual discussion of the deeds, the lines and all that, what is the specific complaint that you have brought to the committee?
This fence is on our property.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's that simple. Okay. Nothing complex here, no bumps and walls. Okay, do you have any, so can you give us any history as to what happened here with this wall? I mean, why are you coming, why is there? Oh, I'm sorry, I got 10,000 questions all at once.
You're looking at the same picture I am?
No, he's looking at the zoomed out one. There's more.
Is this the wall you're talking?
Yeah, so
No.
which is the fence we're talking
The
about?
fence,
Where is it?
the fence is right along, it's that right there, actually, the white
Would you
fence.
show it to me, please?
Okay. The
Whatever
white
picture.
fence.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so when was this fence constructed?
6 months ago,
Oh, so it's a new
Yes.
Yeah, it's new.
construction. Okay,
and he was told that it was on.
let's see. The fence was there. Now, you had the property surveyed because of the fence, or you were?
Because we were going through a project with a conservation.
And they asked us to survey the land, so. Yeah. and
Yeah,
that's
across
what-
the street.
Okay,
And across the street too, we found out we have 30 more feet across the street.
okay, now, so did you? So you just discovered you had more land?
Well, there were markers, there were things,
just-
he has poles, he has everything marked off, but it seems to be in the wrong area.
Okay,
Which we.
do you have any other questions, Nancy?
So this picture, this aerial view. So this square is your property? And across the street, I know you said that.
Yes,
Is it this square?
it
This is
is.
yours.
Yeah,
I want them to be able to
Okay.
have one of those.
And then across
I
the
just gave
street,
him one.
it's
It's-
over in here?
yeah, these docks actually.
That's what
That's
we're
part of
looking at
ours
when I
now.
handed out.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly, that's another fight for another day, probably.
Are these
Copy
the
this.
docks that are piled up
I think.
Yeah, sitting there, yeah,
in a rocked area, a wall
on a rock,
area?
kind of on a rock, yep, against this telephone pole.
And there's all weeds growing up?
There might be a weed growing around
This
it.
is where that wall was put up.
No, that's.
That's further down?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, fine. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get my bearings here. Okay, so you said that the survey that was conducted indicates that you own more land to the north?
Correct.
So the fence is actually on your property because you own on the other side of the property.
I on the other side of the fence,
All right, so how much land are we talking about on that north side?
6.2 to the bottom of the driveway and 2 point something. the diagram right there.
Oh, okay. Mr. Agia, I asked Mr. Agia to come because he's obviously the building commissioner. And he is the person who would be issuing permits for fences. Would you like to take a look at this, please?
Hello, Diane, hello, everyone. Jim Aguirre, building commissioner. I'm in receipt of that, Nancy. I already have.
Oh, okay,
I actually think someone with me.
okay.
So I am aware of the recent survey. And based on what the Birdos have said, the Kuchenbaus do have a fence that appears to be on his property. I do not have a permit for that fence. The building code does not require fence permits unless associated with a pool. However, Dayton historically has always required permits for fences. So unfortunately, they didn't obtain a permit for that fence.
But we did approve.
No, let's let one person talk at a time, please.
Yeah. They have obtained permits in the past. Both parties have gotten permits for work done on their property. So, you know, I don't know what the reason for not getting a permit was. However, I can see that there is some difference between the state building code and what we historically have always done in Dayton. So that could be easily part of the problem.
I do know, Nancy and I had this conversation before, and I said, you don't need a permit for a fence. I said,
The only time we actually have nomenclature in our bylaws and it mirrors the state building code, when when a fence is going to be installed as a barrier for a pool, then it's obviously a requirement.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
all right, but I am in receipt of that survey and I do concur, so.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions for?
No,
Okay, thank you, folks. Thank you. I'm assuming that you're Mr., I'm gonna butcher your name.
Mr. Kuchenbauer.
If you want to come, please take the podium and your side of the story, please.
Did you get that sign list? Oh, okay.
Hi there, we're Ron Kuchenbauer of 2386 Pleasant Street. In regards to the fencing, I believe I came to town hall last fall and verbally discussed, I thought it was with you regarding,
You're speaking to Mr. Aguirre?
yes, I am, regarding the fence. And at that point, was there a permit needed? Massachusetts didn't require it at the time, based on what I was told. I wasn't told by who I spoke to at the time. I'd have to go back and review notes and see who that was. But we weren't told we need a permit based on Massachusetts law. And I believe he also had discussion, which he probably doesn't know who with at the time.
The secretary on the desk told me in the legal size of 6 feet high, you do not need a permit.
So we're not here to discuss a permit per
Okay.
se. I
It
think
was
if you had obtained a permit, and I think that's what Mr. Aguirre was trying to say, is that this problem probably would have been avoided in its entirety if you had gotten a permit. But we're not here to enforce a permit issue. We're concerned about where is the fence and where is the property fence.
And to answer that question in terms of the overage, I received notice of this meeting 2 days ago in the mail. So I didn't have time to prep everything for this morning. But that being said, I have text from Mr. Berto stating that his surveyors noted that the lead post was off 1 inch. Here, we're hearing feet at the top and 6 feet down on Pleasant Street. So that's contradicting information. The property line we've always known been true. I contacted Otis Dyer immediately after hearing the boundary was in question. Otis Dyer has passed and Rachel Smith in his office tried to research the file unsuccessfully. 3-4 weeks later, responding, they're not taking on any new clients. So then I went to a David Madigan, who took 3 weeks to review and came back and said he couldn't do the job. Short-staffed all. So we're actively working with Proline. And I am told in October, their lead surveyor will be available to address this. So we haven't ignored it. I have a timeline. I can email you the timeline regarding this, that we've been proactive about having this researched. It requires deep research. This property has been with him for 40+ years, in the family for nearly 80. The boundary that runs across his house, that property line has always been a source of contention, just with the way the house is situated right there on the drive, you know. But we had a Greta Bohannon who used to work with Otis Dyer. She confirmed that was a true line. Do I have the documentation? I'm trying to find it. You know, so this is why Proline is involved to have a proper survey, deed research to determine that line.
So you're contending that, so I tend to believe that I've got a piece of paper here from Richard Reed, land surveyor, with an official, I mean, this man's a legal surveyor. You're contending that his
I haven't
stuff is
I
wrong.
haven't seen that. I'm not saying it's right or is wrong. I just need to have surveying done on our behalf with our information that we can provide. And if the line is off, that will be addressed. You're telling me that's the true line. We're now saying it's not the true line. Mr. Burdos just handed you something saying, this is the true line.
No, I'm saying I'm tending to believe official surveyor plan.
And I'm trying to provide that for you. I just,
The only thing I don't know, and maybe you guys can shed some light, is this says CBDH FND zooming found. Is there actual marker
There's
there?
a marker there actually. And that's what he's been going by, but when the surveyors came up. They measured from the other marker on the south side. And with all the deeds and all the angles that they used, they came up with that marker is in the wrong spot.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
So you're saying the marker that's there
That,
is in the
that one
wrong
is
place?
kind of invalid. I would say that that's in the wrong place. That's what Mr. Reed came up with.
Mr.
I'm
Reed,
confused.
what is the marker? What are those markers?
It's a stone.
Is it, well,
Well,
we're familiar with the medallion because we're dealing with something else on another case. So are they stones like granite stones set
It's
in the
like a
ground?
4x4 block. It probably goes in the ground.
It's-
As long as it's got.
yeah.
And
I could say the same.
Just,
it's a granite boundary marker.
okay, it's not a medallion, but it's a permanent
It's
marker.
permanent
Okay,
in the
understood.
ground.
and where is this marker? Is it on this red dot?
Yes, I'm assuming.
Well, that's one of my questions.
He would know better because his fenced land's kind of, he would know if he looked at it.
I see it as two separate possible issues. If you're saying that the marker is in the wrong place, that's something completely different, all right? If the marker is there and you put up a fence that clearly is past the marker,
You can almost see a granite boundary marker right there in the ground. And it's in line true to this wall that runs perpendicular to the Taunton River. This stone wall is in line. There used to be a wooden stake in the ground here, which was previously chopped out before, previous owner, before Mr. Burdos. And there's a granite boundary marker just in line with the fence here. The text originally I received from Mr. Burdos was this lead post at the beginning of the fence was off an inch or two by his surveyor. It was Lighthouse at the time. Yeah, right. So I had text saying it's off an inch, then we get information that it's 2 feet and 6 feet. Now the boundaries in question, this granite boundary. So I am in the process of trying to solidify that.
We're going to hire a surveyor and you're.
It's Proline
and-
engineering.
And they'll be available in October.
Yes, I can send you emails that I received from Proline stating that they did the original work on that property when the 2386 house was rebuilt in 2008. So they have a lot of the schematics regarding the property and stuff at that point.
give me a second. I'm
no,
trying to look at a map.
I need to say something.
To-
Viola, September.
What's the address here?
2386 and 2396.
Ah, I see it. Okay. So is Mark, you're speaking?
Possibly is blurry, but yes, there's a granite marker right there.
So if you don't mind, so this does look like it's in line, with if, I'm assuming that's the,
Correct.
and the fence is right there.
Right, but when I told him that he was off by inches, or whatever it was, he wants to go with an inch, that was towards the end. I didn't have the regular draft yet back from my surveyor. I just knew it was off. I was still in the paperwork, was still going around. I told them to come mark it. But they said, I don't want to mark anything because I don't want to cause any trouble right now because you guys have a dispute. So they didn't actually put a mark on the ground or anything to say because it might have disappeared. They didn't want to get involved.
Okay, wait a minute. I think I'm clouds parted and think I understand this. So there's a marker there. He built a fence too.
Mhm.
And you're saying you got this guy here surveyed it and the property line is actually here.
Yes,
I see. Okay.
there's another marker down here that apparently they're using that one because that one lined up with the back and around it, or however they do their work.
Okay, so now I understand. So I'm sorry, we rewind, start over. What he's contending is that the marker is in the wrong place. So I believe that, you getting your own surveyor and confirming or denying this would be an appropriate course of action.
Yes. And our next meeting would be October the 19th. So if the work could be done before then, and you have that, you could come back. If not, if your surveyor can't make it before the 19th, if you would let Mrs. Schechter know in our office, then we'll know whether or not we're going to have this as an agenda item.
Yep.
I'll share the emails from Proline to you. And then you can go from there.
Great. So I'm going to suggest, that one of two things is going to happen. Either your surveyor is going to agree with this. And in that case, my crystal ball says we're going to tell you to move the fence. Or your surveyor is going to disagree. And if there's a disagreement, I'd like to see both surveyors, come to this next meeting or something like that, so we can try to figure out, where is the discrepancy, who is the wrong. I'm going to put in the middle or something. I don't know, come to some sort
Sort of
of.
a little deep research. And
Yeah.
On surveying points.
So I'm just saying, the purpose of this committee, we're trying to avoid people from going to court. We're trying to just settle disputes amicably, trying to be fair to everybody. Okay?
But there's a lot more to it
Yeah, but they're not
than
here. for
what
that.
was discussed here. Why was the fence put there?
Okay, but that's not relevant
Yeah, it's not.
to the boundary.
There we go.
No.
But the thing is,
No.
okay, we have a huge investment. The building inspector gave him permission to put a 35-foot tower on the property. Took our southern view away. We didn't come here on complain about our view.
Mr. Kuskabauer, that's not relevant to the boundary.
Okay.
You understand,
We're only talking about the fence. here.
right?
But one thing he said is 80 years. It's the same mark all the way. And no one ever changed anything.
Mr. Kukenbauer, the case that we were discussing, that we are now, it's on the table right now, and we'll probably postpone, put it into the next meeting. We know that in all of these cases of property boundary discussions, there is always other factors involved. I'll put it, state it that way. And also what we're talking about on the other case is a stone wall and markers and all that. So the fact that you're going to get a surveyor and present evidence will help this board determine what has to happen.
And as I told the other party, and everybody should be aware, the authority of this board is on the fence and the fence alone. We do not set property lines. That's not so if you guys have a dispute, so let's say for the sake of discussion, you do have two different surveyors and they're in conflict with each other. Regardless of where the line is, we can tell you where to put the fence. And then you guys can fight in court or whatever to get the property line moved. So we are simply in control of the fence and nothing else, not the property line. Okay?
And what we try to do is act as mediators to bring the property owners together to avoid expense in land court and get it resolved. Okay?
I'm just trying to have it surveyed so we can determine.
Yeah, so please do that. So did you say you had a time? When did you have a time? You said,
Proline is acting on it in October. I'll share all emails with you from the previous, which has delayed me to this point, from 2 other surveyors and the reasons why. Okay, I'm happy to share that with you. Proline, who I reached out to in mid-August, did an on-site review. And their lead surveyor is not available to October.
So when you talk to them again, if you let them know our next meeting is the 19th, if they can do it before then, if not, it'll move to the following. The documents that we have reviewed here, including that one, they are all public documents and you're entitled to a copy of them. If you want to do
Nope.
that, Mrs. Schechter can take care of that. Okay?
and keep in mind that any emails that or your communications that you send to us will be forwarded to the other party.
And they're also public documents.
And they're public documents.
So
So you don't say anything bad about your neighbors in the public document, okay? Just to be clear.
And Mrs. Schechter will let you know whether or not this is going to be on the October 19th agenda. You're certainly welcome to come to the meeting, even if it's not, but we will let you know.
Okay, so either one of you have any concerns, questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So do we want to take have a motion or something for this?
Mrs. Chairman,
You want me to
Do we
put
need a
my
motion?
email address? Actually, let me put your phone number down.
vote that pending, we'll move it to a future meeting.
We'll postpone this
Move it To a future meeting,
Zero.
pending the,
pending receipt of, yes.
What was I putting?
Mayor, Mr. Francis Surveyor's
Good.
report. Okay.
so,
I make a motion, Mrs. Are we ready?
Yes.
I move that we postpone this to a future meeting,
Okay.
depending upon, scheduling, depending upon receipt of the report from Mr. Kuchenbauer's surveyor.
step down in second, discussion, I'd just like to say, it should be on our next agenda as open business. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Aguirre, do you have anything under discussion?
We're in the middle of a vote here. Let's finish. All in favor?
No, discussion. is
Oh, it's
still
just,
open.
you have
Yeah,
discussion.
just for clarification, because I don't like the comment I just received on the way out. I know that the permit is not on the table right now, but I want for the record to show that the building permit was issued to the Burness property under a variance through the Board of Appeals. So the building official is not responsible for the building. However, I oversaw its construction. Board of Appeals allowed a permit to be granted for that building.
What building are you talking?
Okay,
about?
hold on.
Yeah.
If you would please just allow
Yeah.
us to finish this vote and then you can talk all you want.
Yeah.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we will postpone that to the next meeting. Now you're discussing,
So we're talking about the fence and you mentioned a building.
this is the 35-foot tower he was.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I've always been respectful to you and your family, but your father was just out of line. So I did not arbitrarily or illegally issue a permit to a building. I haven't, and nor will I ever do so. The Board of Appeals granted leniency from zoning to allow that building to be constructed. As far as the fencing and the property line, I concur with everything that's been said. I will tell you also for the record that just because a CB, which is concrete bound or granite bound, is in a location, that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the property corners are. It's not corner bound, it's concrete bound or property bound. So that being said, I think your words were spot on. Surveyors will both property owners have the ability to survey the property. If they're in agreement, then the point is mute. Fence gets moved, we know where the property line is. If they're in disagreement, and you can't mediate that here, then it's gonna go to land court.
Well, what we do have the authority to do is, and I would probably just say split the difference.
Right.
If he says there, it's there, we would order the fence to be moved. to
Right.
What we felt, That's what the Mass General Law says, is that the fence viewer, our authority says regardless of whether you agree on the property line, we tell you this is where the fence goes. And then when you figure it out later, you'll move the fence again.
I've been doing this over 20 years and I've seen all too many times that if a bound is there and everyone historically knew or thought that's where the property line was, once things are surveyed, it's found that that necessarily isn't where the property line is. It's just a marker, which gives the surveyor a reference point to work off of to actually show where a property corner is. So I don't know if that's the case here. I'm not a surveyor. That could be the reason why there was.
I'm surprised that, 6 feet, that's an enormous amount for that mark to be off. I mean,
It is.
that wasn't a drill,
I actually,
something like that.
personal experience, I actually gained more than 6 feet. When my next door neighbor said they were gonna have their property surveyed, and they said, do you want yours surveyed? We'll get a price to do both. I said, sure. And when it was all done, there is a row of shrubs between the two properties that were planted by my neighbor to the north that are actually on my property.
Mhm.
And he says, you want me to remove them? I says, no.
Right.
Very well.
It's a-
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Aggie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. Is a permit going to be required for that fence?
What happened? Somebody else used the account?
Based on
They only have us on those.
past practice in Dayton,
We went over
it
it.
will be yes.
Okay, so
But it's nowhere close to 11.
did you hear that?
No. Oh, me?
I asked him if fence permit would be required.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you spoke with, but based on past practice, a permit will be required. I won't issue any fines for the permit. As I said earlier, both properties have obtained permits historically for any work that was done. So I don't have a concern. But I am going to use this venue at another time to discuss the permitting offenses in Dayton going forward.
I just recall, because I was in there regarding another matter, and I did address, and it probably wasn't you then.
Mhm.
Discussing fencing. I tried to do my research regarding the matter and addressed everything. May have been a fence with a utility doors, which cost me extra, $1,500 to put an extra door in for access to utility panels and, the proper frontage allowance, and I considered step downs for view coming out of both driveways. So I tried to do due diligence, if you will, and I did address it with someone regarding a permit now. And knowing mass under 6 feet, and he even had to ask someone at some point, under 6 feet wasn't required in mass.
I agree with all that.
But unless you're putting fences up on a regular basis, most wouldn't know, and the general knowledge, if you go on the Dayton website, it's not easy to locate.
Right.
Fence permits required.
No, as Mr. Moore said, when this topic came up for discussion, he had made that remark about you don't need a permit for a fence. And I looked at him and said, you do in Dayton. Okay, because as Mr. Agas stated, it is enforced, but.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I'm going to use this committee now that they've organized as an opportunity to open up the discussion on that. So.
Yeah, I would just say it would be helpful for someone like myself, who we never have put one up, it wasn't needed, but circumstances led us to that, but to try and locate even on the Dayton homepage, fencing, permitting, what's required, not required in mass, but required, it's not there, so unless we're asking someone, it's not readily available. So
No,
that's why I'm inclined to say that we did ask, but who.
no, and that's why when I saw Mr. Agia yesterday, I asked him if he could sit in on the meeting because I wasn't sure where this was going to go and what we would be talking about. So thanks for coming.
No, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I'm not sure if she purposely left this, but certainly can you get copies for people later? And if she wants it back, give it to her back. Your
Yeah,
question.
no, I was gonna make copies of here.
Can you motion to take the Kane McKeon off the table?
Okay, you want to finish this because it looks like
I thought we
we
did.
don't need 5B at this point. Schedule a site visit.
No, we're not going to
Right.
schedule a site visit,
Okay,
not at this point in time.
so Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we take no action on agenda item 5B.
Step down
Schedule a site
second.
visit.
No action.
See.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman, I move that agenda item 4A be taken off the table and postponed to
The two separate motions. I second, step down and second, all in favor,
take it off the table.
take it off the table.
Okay, aye. Mr. Chairman, I move
Um,
that we,
Is there any further discussion? Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Yes, if the four members of the trust have to sign to that agreement, I don't think it's gonna happen. So therefore, most likely I'm gonna have to hire a surveyor.
That's unfortunate.
What you're saying though, that my husband and I own the house.
You do not own the property though. You have, so what I saw in the deed
We
is,
did set it up.
It's in the
as a
trust.
But it,
so by setting up as a trust, so I know that there are four people and I could see that deed. I think I have it.
I think I have. Mrs. Kane, because there's a trust involved and all trusts are not the same, I would speak to an attorney.
okay,
The one who drew it up is available and
Yep.
say, tell them what you're dealing with and that you're trying to get this situation resolved.
Okay.
And what is the status of the signatories on this particular issue as they relate to the trust? Because as I say, all trusts are not the same and usually they're customized.
yes.
It guarantees the person they can live there forever, but
So this
could be other things.
this deed clearly says the trustee, so you guys
Yep.
transferred ownership to the Kane Family Trust. So, now this also states you have residency. I do not know what and this is what Mrs. Goulart was just saying,
Okay.
what is the makeup of the Kane
Yep.
Family Trust? So if you've got two people on there, then those two people are the ones,
Yep,
but I believe, based on
What
what
you're
it says
seeing,
here,
yeah.
this looks like you've got four people that are
I
beneficiaries
will
of the
find out
trust.
with the,
There should be Laurel Quirk, right? As a trustee,
Laurel, yes, that's my daughter.
so
Yeah.
speak to her. And find out, she's the trustee. And can you bring us a copy of the trustee document? or-
I don't have that in front of me, but if there is a trustee named, I believe that's the signature you need.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree.
So that might be a lot easier.
It would be.
You see that?
So what you're saying is I still need to find out if Tibbetts need to sign it as well.
You need to find out, so I am not a lawyer.
No, but you're
I
very
believe,
logical.
I believe being logical, I think that what Mrs. Goulart just said is correct.
I have
The
a trust
property is owned by the trust. The trust is controlled.
by the
trustee.
trustee.
Okay.
So I do believe if, Laurel is
That's
the
my
person,
So I think
Uh,
that's
she would be the one that makes the decision as to making legal changes for the
For
property.
example, if you decided to sell the house, the four people in the trust, the owners, whatever you want to, the trust owns it, but you've got four people listed. No one's going to sell that property unless that trustee says, okay. And if the trustee says no.
Yeah.
The alternative is get rid of the trustee and get another one. All right, that can be done legally, but the trustee is totally,
In control.
In control,
Absolutely.
that's the whole.
absolutely.
Okay, but look at your trust document.
Yeah.
Your legal
I
document.
think that's the,
describes-
and I would talk to the attorney, tell him what the story is. And just so that she also is reinforced in her position and authority to manage and to handle that trust. I think that's your solution.
Good idea.
Okay,
Yes. So now where are we taking this?
so we're going to notify Mr. McGee that he has to agree to the lines that we put down. And
And you've already
And-
spoken to him.
yeah,
I'm assuming.
I'm surprised he's not here. I thought he was going to be. As a matter of fact, when I spoke to him, I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And he said, yeah, see you tomorrow. You should have been here. I don't know,
And I haven't
something
heard from
came
him,
up.
so I don't know if there was an emergency or what.
So he should you know, I assume he has a good reason for not being here. And, you know, just
I'm
get,
not gonna assume that.
and, we're gonna send, we'll send him a letter and just send him a letter, say, hey, we need you to.
So is the 19th is when we're gonna,
19th is the
Yeah,
third
so we need
Wednesday
to
after today.
move To postpone this
Till the
to,
19th.
So Wednesday.
Yeah, that month is like so busy right at that particular time. I'll let Stephanie know if I can't make it. Because my daughter's getting married around that
Oh,
time. And it's gonna be in South Carolina and it's just,
If you are unable to attend.
Yep.
If you have, your daughter,
oh,
send a letter to the board. Is this the daughter that's getting married? That's the trustee? It's a different. By the same token, as the trustee, she can come to this meeting and say, I had the discussion with my mother. I know what's going on. And our position is boom,
okay,
okay? She can speak for the trust.
yeah, absolutely.
good enough. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Take care.
all right. Just, I know we have her mailing address, contact information. We can copy her on the next one, even if you make it here, but she should be aware of this, okay? And she's welcome to come. It's a public meeting.
Bye now.
Okay.
Bye.
You motion to postpone?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I motion that we postpone discussion of the status of 2298 and 2308 Pleasant Street until the next meeting scheduled for October 19th.
Step down second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Miss. Next item on the agenda is general discussion of the fence viewer field driver. So I got two parts I wanted to discuss with this. One was what happened. Well, Nancy, you were there, so you know what happened with the Board of Selectmen, but
I watched it.
and you watched it. So just a recap is that we are supposed to at that point have a discussion with Mullen as well as Stacy Berry. And to determine, and I think the outcome of that, this is going to be, you know, it's going to be her. You said they're redoing her contract, and I would imagine that they're just going to put you know, field driver into her contract.
Yeah, they said they're going to redo her job description. And so when I spoke, you saw it, I said, I agree. When you get her job, and she stated that night, she says, technically under the law, I am a field driver. So I think that's what's going to happen. It'll, instead of having this together as two positions, they'll split it,
They need to
and
split,
designate
yeah.
her specifically, and that
I mean,
resolves
unless
it.
there's something we need to resolve, some kind of dispute, but I don't think so. There's anything to dispute. So that's about it. The other thing was like what just happened here. This is how I would like to run it as a procedure. Is somebody comes to you, we should probably have some sort of form or
Yeah, like that
application.
first page,
That's right. You
Yeah.
found some
I found
very
the
interesting
handbook.
stuff.
Yeah.
Handbook, yeah.
wonderful.
So we have a form, you know, if somebody has a complaint, they come to Stephanie, fill out the form, she puts it on the agenda. And what just happened, you have, you know.
That packet is me doing that stuff. That's not them bringing anything.
Right,
Everything in that packet. It was,
okay, yeah, so this is perfect. So I would like to adopt this as our policy going forward. Any concerns on that?
Yeah, the only thing I would ask, which wasn't filled in, I mean, they're ready to argue the point.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that paper. I just took down her information.
Yeah,
Okay.
she wrote
I
it.
put it in.
All right,
I
but
think that
Going
people
forward,
should-
they should fill it and give an explanation, what's going on.
that's why I said, what is it we're specifically talking about? And what they're looking for is a resolution.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. So that was the only thing I saw that we didn't have specifically.
For just this case, but I'm saying. this-
Exactly.
I think the procedures would have.
Oh, yeah, this works. I
I think
think this is
procedure is
good.
exactly. what-
Yeah, I
You don't
agree.
need to have, schedule a site visit as a bullet point, because that would be part of the discussing the complaint. They would say, okay, we're going to schedule a site visit as part of that.
Okay.
And as you see that, I think they're Like if we may have just discussed this last case and saw that surveyor, and maybe they were like, oh, I didn't know that was where the line was. Okay, order the fence be moved on. We don't even have to go there.
Right.
You know, a site visit may not be necessary. That's all so I think that's a good thing, that the way we did it. So you get the people, both parties here into a meeting, have, you know, what my grievance is, a rebuttal, and then we figure out a plan to go forward from.
I think it sounds good.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the procedure using the request for action by fence viewers forms for all future fence viewer requests for action, and that on the top of the form, we put down Town of Dayton,
Sounds good.
strike this other stuff and just underline it's the, you know, what it is. So we'll make.
I can make
it,
it.
and you can put the town seal on it as an official.
Yeah,
form.
Make it pretty.
I'll make it pretty, yes.
Okay,
There's one, I step down in second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There was some of the document you sent me. It was like.
It was the handbook.
It was gorgeous. It was like Town of Dayton seal and color.
Oh, it's Nancy's letter that,
Yeah, I think it was Nancy.
Yeah.
well, I can't take
Um,
credit.
Do we have,
Mrs. Grassy developed that for
there you go.
Board of Health, I think, and we've been using it, so I just keep taking the name on.
Oh, that was the other thing. I'm glad you just said that because it reminded me. And I'm glad Mr. Aguirre is still here. I asked, because I asked you the question. So when we are communicating something to, in terms of enforcement, so let's say, so these people came and they gave a complaint, right? The neighbor has to be notified that we're having this meeting. So I took it upon myself to say, just send it regular mail. Do we need to send certified, registered, you know, that?
If they potentially are the recipient of a violation, then they should be notified either by certified mail or through constant, one or the other. Regular mail.
So basically, we have to send everything by certified mail.
48 hours in
Potential
advance.
Factor of a violation, yes.
And is it more than
What
40?
about when it's going ongoing? Like, so for instance, Stephanie's about to send a letter to Mr. McKeon. Should she be sending that
I think
certified?
in an open meeting, if they understand that they could potentially be in violation and they agree to email notifications, then I think that would be appropriate. But you've already got them.
You say the initial contact needs to be,
Certified mail.
okay,
Correct.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, so
Okay,
you're
yeah.
clear on that. So initial contact needs to be certified.
Is it more than 48 hours?
That depends on the law that you work under. So I'm not quite familiar with the general law that
Okay,
promulgates this committee. But there should be some nomenclature in there on
I don't
violations.
think so. Oh, violations, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to actually have our own like fees, penalties.
Right.
We're supposed to get $5 a day too. No, really, the law says $5 a day and it's supposed to be charged to the people.
Right.
So I don't know if we want to enforce that or not.
So typically each section of general law goes into detail about how a violator is supposed to be notified and the term, the days that can lapse between initial notification and compliance.
So I think you're right, but I also think that this law is old as dirt
Sure.
and it didn't have that stuff. They probably didn't even have certified mail when this law was written. Have to send it by horse.
town crier. Thank goodness. Mrs. Schechter, it's probably a good idea to talk to Mrs. Easterday. Find out what kind of timelines they use for certain actions.
Okay.
Now, 48 hours, you must notify that they're going to be discussed at a public meeting, whatever. But I'm thinking, although we don't have to advertise in the paper, I know there is a block of time, and another person to ask is Mrs. Grassy, because we probably should have that stormwater and Board of Health office manager. Just, they have to deal with these deadlines and timelines. So it might be a good place to start if, and if it's not spelled out specifically in the laws that we operate under, or whatever they are, we can establish that as, and state it publicly that, you know, going forward, so on, right? We will adhere to a 48 hour or 10-day, again, they have to deal with things because they advertise them. But we just want to get an idea of what kind
Yeah, I
of
would
notice.
I would imagine that, people should have at least a couple days notice that, so depending on when we receive this complaint, if it's a day before the meeting, well, you're going on the next meeting. You're
Right,
not gonna-
right, because you
so,
can't do the 48 hours.
Yeah, so I would think that, they should receive it within 48 hours, so maybe we give it,
Yeah. do you
4
know the
business
date
days
stamp
or something like that.
Received, all right, so that should be should be stamped in.
So we'll see what comes up,
Hopefully.
hopefully it won't be, that close. But I would say if it's within, 4 or 5 days of the meeting, I would say, yeah, let's put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
All right, I think that's all I had. Did you have anything else on procedure?
No,
Okay, moving on to approve the minutes. Think of the minute.
oh, did you get a chance to
Yes.
see that? You all set with that? Okay, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of
Actually, this is only one set of minutes.
August
29.
29.
There's no 9/12.
No, it's very time consuming,
No, I'm just.
but I'm just saying like
I'm
I,
just for clarification,
Yeah.
we're only approving 8/29.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for the meeting of August 29, 22, as submitted.
Step down second, all in favor?
I,
Any unanticipated items? I missed public input.
well, we got a public here,
We
Mr.
were-
Public.
He already said his piece.
Yeah, he did.
You have anything else you'd like to add? Okay, and that being the case, I will entertain a motion. to
I
adjourn.
was just on the public, I would just make a suggestion that Mr. Aguirre be notified when it's coming up again, just in case. If he wants to sit in or if something happens or he wants to comment, just whatever, he gets notified, get the agenda when this is coming up. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second, step down second, all in favor?
Aye,
Aye,
11 a.m. Bingo.
10:57.
Oh, no, sir.
11's already down.
Jim,
Minutes now.
so,
Let's make sure we shut off. the recording.
yes.